I do hope you can see me today from where you are.
Ich bin ein Feeling.
If I'm generally anything, I guess I'm generally miserable. This modern world of science and invention is of particular interest to women.
The people, I would say, there is no patent. Don't you patent the sun?
I regard myself as a soldier, though a soldier of peace.
Welcome to the Biographers.
I was like, these guys are killing, man. And then I bought their vinyl, and after I had bought it, Jamie and I were sitting there. There's like an outdoor patio with like a big window that opens up, almost like a garage style window. And I saw two of the band members sitting at the bar, and I was like, dude, Jamie, you think they wouldn't be bothered, right? They're kids who just like in this small band, like they'd be cool if I asked for like them to sign the record, right? And he was like, probably, go ask. So I took the vinyl over there and was like, dude, you guys rocked. Just wondering if any chance you'd be able to sign the vinyl. And they were like thrilled. They were like, yeah. Let me go find a Sharpie. And they like.
That's what I love about live music, dude. There's so much enthusiasm with it. I listened to the first half of the set and I really liked it. I had to dip because I had work the next day, but they were really cool. Also, the vinyls were cool. I'm not sure if, I mean, you definitely saw it because you got them, but I love it when they press all sorts of different colors into the vinyl as well. Like I just unboxed, my parents have been clearing out some stuff in the garage, and I unboxed my old record player and all of my collection, my whole collection of vinyls and stuff, and I've been going through it, and I definitely want to get some new ones.
Nice, dude. Yeah, I got one of the fancy schmancy looking vinyls that's got like all these weird, it's a really, really cool pattern. And I love good pattern vinyl as well. I think it's just a super cool thing. And this, even by my standards, I was like, you guys knew what was up. This is a really good pattern you chose for this. So again,
good taste. All
of our fans out there, if you're looking for some good new music from really, really just cool, very like kind kids that are making genuinely, I think, great music, go check out Trestles. Just as a shout out to them. Again, I have no paid partnership. They're just a good band. Go check them out.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
But we do need to get going here, everybody. Akiva and I have already, we talked about this just before we hit record and everything, is we have some other stuff going on today. So we, sometimes just got to schedule out our time to make sure we're able to actually deliver the content to all of you that, hopefully want to listen and watch if you're starting to watch videos. So first of all, hey, everybody, welcome to the Biographers. I'm Daniel Newman, hanging out with Akiva Miola.
What's up, y'all?
And we're about to get going into Wu Zhao Part 3. Past couple episodes have been pretty gnarly, and this one is it's gonna have its gnarly elements, dude, for sure. So like again, we're talking about medieval times, and medieval times can be pretty gnarly around the entire planet.
Pretty medieval.
Yeah. So we'll get going into that. Just before we do, like always, everybody, again, if you're enjoying the show and you want to give us a little bit of support, you can do so by going to our Patreon page, patreon.com/thebiographers. And then also, if you feel like giving us a kind review somewhere, we'd appreciate that as well. Generally speaking, places like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. But anywhere else you can give us a review, obviously, we would appreciate that as well. And then also, we're now on YouTube as well with actual video, as I'm sure most of you know. So if you haven't smashed that subscribe button, I'm so sorry. I never wanted to say that in my entire life, and it just happened. But obviously, subscriptions and all that good stuff help. So if you feel so inclined, we'd appreciate you. All right, man, you ready to get going?
Let's do it, man.
All right. So last time we saw Wu Zhao begin her training as a royal concubine in 7th century China, which entailed basically reading through a whole bunch of medieval porno magazines and taking a lot of notes.
Yeah.
Yes. Which, if I know sometimes y'all skip ahead in the episodes, you're missing out on episode 2. It was
man.
It was both
episode 2 was wild,
disgusting and hilarious at the same time. It was a roller coaster, but it was good. Now, once Zhao reached puberty, she was officially added to the royal harem after the emperor, had his way.
Made it happen. Yeah.
But luckily for Zhao, concubines had access to pretty much all the education they could want for the time, which she took full advantage of, studying everything she possibly could. As Zhao's emperor Taizong approached the end of his life, Zhao made a strategic chess move in pursuing the emperor's son, the heir to the throne, and the two fell in love. However, despite her best efforts to stick around, when Emperor Taizong died, and Emperor Kaozong, the the previous prince, took over, she was forced into retirement and sent to live in a Buddhist monastery. But during the first year of Kaozong's reign, his empress discovered that Kaozong was still in love with his previous concubine named Shou, with whom he had sired 3 children. And this presented a problem for the empress, as she had not given the emperor any children, and under Chinese law at the time, the emperor was well within his rights to divorce the empress and marry his former concubine. Little complicated, I know.
Yeah.
So, when the empress caught wind that an even stronger love of the emperor's, Wu Zhao, was living in a monastery, the empress recruited Zhao back into the royal harem in order to divert the emperor's attention away from Shou, the other concubine.
Yes. A concubine beats concubine scenario.
Accurate. But the empress did not realize that in doing so, she had welcomed a viper into the rabbit's warren. Over the next few years, Zhao implanted herself firmly at the side of the emperor, gaining more political sway with every passing week, even giving the emperor 2 sons. But where we left off last time, Zhao had just given birth to a daughter. And one day, somewhere between the empress paying the baby girl a visit and the emperor paying a visit, the child passed away. Upon discovering the deceased infant, the emperor asked the guards if anyone else had been to visit recently, to which the guards said, only the empress. So you can kind of see the game that was being played here.
Yes, that was a crazy cliffhanger at the end of that last episode.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, of course, I'm sure you'll get into it, but it is crazy if Wu Zhao did end up offing one of her own children for the sake of, getting the empress caught red-handed for a murder that she didn't do. So insane.
Well, let's get into it. So, historical scholars are split when it comes to what happened here. Many believe that after the empress left, Zhao smothered her own daughter to death in order to frame the empress. But more modern historians dispute this, as that event, where supposedly Zhao did this to her own daughter, was not truly reported on and written down until over 400 years after the fact. And many believe that accusation was nothing more than a thinly veiled smear campaign against Zhao. And there was a lot of that happened over the centuries. Some posit that the infant's death may have been a case of SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, while others theorize it was carbon monoxide poisoning due to poor ventilation, which was also a thing back then. We truly do not know what happened here. We can only speculate, so y'all can make your own conclusions here. I don't know that I have a specific opinion one way or the other, because I can see both sides of this,
Yeah.
We'll see more examples of Shao potentially being a little bit more brutal in the future, but we'll also see a lot of these examples, and we'll talk about it when we get there, of she found other ways to do things to get ahead that were not just like, kill them all. Like, it was, well, you're going to be banished. Well, I'm going to demote you. I'm going to, like, there was a lot of other ways that she could do things. So, I don't know. Again, y'all can all be your own judges here.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those scenarios where, and if you've gotten at all into like Roman history, kind of a similar thing happens where a person gets so highly politicized, and the people who actually try to record events as they went are so far in the future that you're like, I'm not even sure if any of this occurred in any way at all.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know.
Well, regardless of how it happened or what happened, Zhao definitely seized the moment and began implanting ideas into the emperor's head that the empress was out to get her. Now, the emperor did have his doubts, but it definitely made him see the empress differently from then on. As the months passed, the empress found herself in steep decline socially, and it seemed like everyone was against her. Naturally, she saw Wu Zhao as the primary culprit to her downfall. The empress's own mother was even accused of sorcery, attempting spells specifically meant to harm Zhao, and as a result, the empress's mother and brother were both banished from the palace. The message...
Wow.
Yeah, right? And the message for everyone around was becoming very clear. Do not fuck with Wu Zhao.
Yeah, Yeah, it's just like we talked about in the last episode, which is that secret third factor of ancient history, which is magic and how much it actually plays a part in decision making. It is as if it is a concrete fact. Yep. That it's like hard for me to comprehend sometimes. It's crazy.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I thought about that because you had commented on that on the last episode. And really what it comes down to is how seriously people take, let's be honest, religion in whatever form that takes, whether it's sorcery or the more modern faiths that we know today. But it's a good comparison because, again, even today's day and age, a lot of people, sorry to say myself included, are fairly critical over a lot of those sort of the conclusions that people come to because of the religion that they're wrapped up into. Don't hate me, everybody. We all have different opinions.
No, totally. And I think I agree with that statement, but I would find the distinction is that it's not only an acceptance of the religion and a person identifying with that religion, which we today still, hold our political candidates and all of that. And in those regards, right, you want to have a political candidate who follows the same religious views as you. Yep. But everybody accepts it. And then also conclusions based off of the mysticism of that religion are also held as facts. Right. Yeah. So it's not just I want to vote for this president because he's a Christian. It's I want to vote for this president because he's a Christian. And that prophetic dream that he had about Jesus tells me that he's going to do, that sort of thing, which I think is so fascinating about ancient history.
Yeah, same. Now, because of all this drama and speculation with the Empress, soon another thought began to spread that some embraced and others opposed, that the emperor should divorce the Empress and marry Wu Zhao instead. Now, none were more opposed to this idea than one of the emperor's chief ministers by the name of Chu Shuileng, who insisted that the emperor's current marriage was blessed by the previous emperor and that the empress had committed no crime. Now, the emperor didn't much like this, what he had heard. So he had Chu Shuileng beaten so severely that eventually Chu Shuileng begged to be exiled in order to have his life spared.
Wow.
As the guards dragged his mangled body out of the palace, Zhao, who had been listening to the entire interrogation from behind a screen door, was heard saying to another concubine, quote, "Why not have him executed?" So again, she can be brutal.
She's like, just kill the guy.
Yeah. Like, why even go through the bother? Right. Now, because of all this opposition towards Zhao, the emperor caught a case of the Michael Scotts. When everyone around him was acting like Pam saying, "Stop dating my mother," i.e. Wu Zhao, the emperor responded by saying, "You know what? I'm going to start dating her even harder." So on November 16th, 655 CE, both the Empress and Shou, the other concubine, received the final nail in their coffins. They were both declared guilty of conspiracy to poison and murder the emperor.
Wow.
Now, how was this discovered, and was this even true? Did Wu Zhao implant the idea in the emperor's head? We simply don't know. But I would actually be willing to bet there was actually some truth to that accusation, because it did get to a point where the Empress was just like, "I don't know, man, this is not working for me, and you're thinking I'm going to do this, and you're going to do something bad to me." There is every possibility that it wasn't just Wu Zhao spinning her spider's web, but there actually was truth to this potential plot to kill and murder the emperor. I don't know.
Wow.
But either way, both the Empress and Shou, the concubine, along with everyone in their families, were to be stripped of all titles, possessions, and land. The Empress
just gone straight to peasant status immediately.
Yes, their whole families. So not even just the two of them. Because if you remember, Shou, she was from a reputable land-owning family, like not necessarily royalty, but like highly respected, big-name family kind of a thing, which was one of the reasons that it gave legitimacy to the idea of the emperor divorcing the Empress and then marrying Shou. So again, both of these women basically had their entire family's lives stripped away from them with a snap of a finger, basically. It's insane.
Yeah.
Now, the Empress and Shou were imprisoned within the palace, and all of their relatives were banished to Lingnan, which is modern-day Vietnam. And by the way, that was where most often when people were banished, they were sent to Vietnam.
That was China's Siberia.
Yeah, because so obviously Vietnam is half of it's a jungle anyways. So it was a lot more, it was harsher. There was a lot more disease.
Difficult to cultivate.
Right.
Yeah.
The humidity made it so that there was just way more insects and stuff that could get you sick and more snakes and all this kind of stuff. Like that was just their idea of like, we're going to send them to somewhere we hate. You're going to Vietnam, which is...
That's nuts.
I imagine how a lot of soldiers in the 60s and 70s were feeling as well. You're going to send me to Vietnam? Anyway. Now, just 6 days after this, a royal decree was issued by the emperor himself that read, quote, "The Lady Wu comes from an eminent and honorable family from a region famed for its soldiers and scholars. She was picked to enter the palace for her ability and virtue. She earned the respect and friendship of women of her own rank and served those set above her with distinction. When we, the royal we, were crown prince and visited our late mother, the Lady Wu was at her side both day and night. Noting her good qualities, the late emperor praised and honored her and bestowed her on us. It is thus fitting that she be raised to the rank of Empress."
There we go.
Zhao.
This is also like ye old resume writing where she's like, oh, she was an esteemed noblewoman who had great networking skills and communication, and we definitely didn't kidnap her from somewhere as a sex slave. That was not what happened.
Yes, and honestly, even if we pick apart what we just said, there's almost no truth to any of it. So it's like she came from an eminent and honorable family famed for their region of soldiers and scholars. Okay, that's sort of true. She was picked to enter the palace for her ability and virtue. False. Lie. She earned the respect and friendship of women of her own rank and served those above her with distinction. Pretty much lie. She had a network of spies, right? When we, the crown prince, visited our late mother, Lady Wu was at her side day and night. Complete lie. She was not there at all. Noting her good qualities, the emperor praised and honored her and bestowed her on us. Full on lie. Like you were banging your father's concubine behind his back and then pulled her back into the harem after she was already banished by that point or sent to live in a monastery.
Yes.
So all of this is just like complete nonsense lies to make the emperor putting this out there to make it all feel better, issuing this decree, you know. Wild stuff though. But Zhao officially became the empress on December 12th, 655. It had taken almost 20 years of scheming mixed with a little bit of luck, but Zhao had finally done it. At 30 years old, she was now the empress, the second most powerful person in all of China, and therefore one of the most powerful humans in the world.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
It's so crazy. Now, you might all be asking yourselves, how the heck did this woman, this concubine, implant herself so deeply under the emperor's skin? Sure, she was pretty and smart and apparently dynamite in the sack, but there were plenty of pretty smart concubines who knew how to bang. So what did Wu Zhao do differently? Well, the short answer here is, and I am not kidding, butt stuff.
I don't know, Daniel. What are you about to tell me?
Well, listen, apparently the emperor was a pretty big fan of the old back door. And kind of like our current social climate, people had mixed feelings about anal sex. But of Zhao, it was noted in official dynastic text at the time, quote, "Zhao abased her body and bore shame to provide the emperor his satisfaction." And historical scholars agree that this is almost definitely a reference to anal sex.
That's hilarious and so dumb.
I know. In other words, though, everybody, Wu Zhao quite literally put her ass on the line to become empress.
I knew there was going to be some setup somewhere. God damn it. Oh my God. What the hell is even this part of history? I don't even know what to expect anymore.
But hey, all jokes aside, Zhao was indeed the empress now, and as such, she had a couple points of action to take. First things first, those who supported her in pursuing her rise to empress were rewarded with governmental promotions, while those who had opposed her were banished from the kingdom. Next up was her family. Her firstborn son, Li Hong, was named crown prince, which now put him in line to become the next emperor. And not long after this, she gave birth to a second son named Li Che, and he would be the first of Zhao's children to have the date of their birth recorded, which was November 26th, 655. Prior to her becoming empress, her children's birthdays didn't merit recording. Kind of sad.
Yeah.
Lastly, for her family, she gave her mother, Lady Yang, the title of Lady of Zhong and posthumously named her father Duke of Chuo. But her two half-brothers were none too happy about all of this, and after expressing their feelings, Zhao had them both banished to far corners of the empire, and both died in obscurity.
Wow.
So if you remember from the very beginning of this whole series, she was the second, her father had two wives.
Oh, yes.
She was from the second wife. So they had always treated her kind of like shit and like saw her as less than. So this was her final like, oh yeah? You don't really like me being empress? Watch this.
I hope you like the jungle. Like,
kind of metal.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not
man.
cool, but it's also one of those of like, oh boy, like, you know,
You play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
right? Just desserts, guys. Like you were shitty, and now you didn't see this one coming, did you? You know, just saying.
Yeah, man.
Now, as for Zhao's two former rivals, the previous empress and the other concubine Shou, initially they were confined to a small apartment in the palace, and their door was sealed shut with bricks containing one small opening where food could be passed back and forth, along with buckets of their own waste. They were literally sealed into an apartment.
Yeah.
But one day, as the emperor was out for a stroll, he passed by the sealed up apartment and kind of started to feel bad for the two women. So he called out their names and asked how they were doing. The two women...
They're like, bad. I've been sealed in an apartment.
I would imagine on the inside, that's how they felt. But on the outside, they were actually ecstatic to hear from the emperor and literally began to weep while thanking him for remembering them. But Zhao soon caught wind of this little exchange, which prompted a call for the executioner.
Oh, wow.
Zhao ordered the former empress and Shou to be beaten 100 times each before cutting off their hands and feet and throwing them into barrels filled with wine. After the two women were placed into the wine barrels, Zhao ordered the lids to be fitted on top before saying, quote, "Let the two hags get drunk to their bones."
Oh my God. That is so Cersei Lannister. That is so Cersei Lannister. That is crazy.
Yes. Now, once both had died, a few days later, they took
didn't drink the shit.
Days to die from bleeding out in the wine because the wine, alcoholic, both would prevent the wound from fully bleeding out, but because it's liquid, it could never fully heal. So it was this slow bleeding process, by the way, them just slowly dying in these barrels. So after they had finally died, Zhao ordered their corpses to be removed so that their heads could be severed and their bodies could be chopped up into tiny little bits. Hell hath
I think it's
no
over,
fury.
man. Like, talk about beating a dead horse, you know?
I know. But check this out.
How dare they be excited that someone comes and visits them at their prison cell?
I mean, you're not wrong. But check this out, though. Her cruelty was almost instantly starting to haunt her as Zhao soon began having nightmares plagued by the two ghostly figures of her slain rivals appearing like phantoms covered in blood.
Aw, that must be so sad for her.
I know, right? Poor lady.
I guess I do feel kind of bad about killing them and chopping off their hands and their feet and putting them in a barrel of alcohol and sealing it shut for a week and then killing them again by chopping them up into tiny pieces. That does sometimes take a toll on me.
Yep. It's heavy. Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
I guess so, man. And light is the head that gets chopped off.
Also, well, I've heard it weighs about 8 pounds. So, depending on how strong you are.
Yeah.
Anyways, to escape her tormentors, these two phantoms, Zhao convinced the emperor to relocate from the western capital, Chang'an, to the eastern capital of Luoyang, which, remember, there were two different capitals. So the main one, she was like, let's get out of here because I'm being literally haunted. So let's go to Luoyang. But don't worry, everybody. She did decide to leave someone behind in Chang'an to act as a governmental caretaker to the city. Her 6-year-old son, the crown prince, Li Hong. Bye. Are you okay, little buddy?
That's so funny. Just give him an ice box full of Capri Suns and be like, hey, just...
Do you have your baggie of Cheerios?
Really?
You gonna be good? Okay, bye. We'll be over in the other capital.
That's crazy.
But when it came to actual political policy, Zhao was now, in effect, the Grima Wormtongue to King Theoden, except that Zhao actually had the Chinese people's best interests in mind, believe it or not. In her first few years as Empress, a national census was implemented to better understand the nation's economy and needs. The empire was expanded after the emperor's army conquered the Turks on the Western Front, and the emperor even ordered a compendium of medical knowledge to be compiled so that more people across the country could become doctors and receive medical care. And it's possible that the emperor did these things of his own accord, but most historians agree that it was actually Wu Zhao's influence that drove all of these initiatives. As we didn't get into it a bunch, but if you remember from the last episode, Cao Zong, before he was actually chosen to become the emperor, he was like his father's last choice because he was kind of known as like stupid and just like he wasn't prepared to be emperor or anything. So the idea that he would do things like, oh, we're going to create a census to better understand the economy. We're going to actually win
national
a battle.
healthcare database.
It's just almost impossible that it was him that was like, these are great ideas. Almost definitely it was Zhao who was like, hey, husband, these are really good ideas that we should be doing, so you should do them. And he was like, okay.
It kind of reminds me of Napoleon in the sense where it's like Napoleon was so brutal and terrible and conquered everything, but also he had an entire army of like scientists and engineers to help like improve society. Like canned food wouldn't be a thing without the Napoleonic armies.
I didn't know that.
You know? Yeah. Like, of course, Napoleon himself didn't invent it, but my understanding is around the time of Napoleon, one of his engineers or designers or whatever came up with canned food, which was like probably one of the number one reasons why we don't have random famines today is the fact that we could just like easily mechanically preserve things.
I did not know that. That's fascinating.
Yeah, so like one part like actual crazy bastard and then one part like protect the forests, you know, like thinking Robin Hood.
I knew exactly what I knew that quote immediately, like, oh, protect the forest. And then
right the wrong, then the tyranny, protect the forest, provide affordable healthcare for Anglos and Saxons.
God, I love that movie. Anyways. It also wasn't just politics that Zhao sought to affect, but also the culture she now represented. She commissioned 2 separate ocean voyages to India specifically to bring back Buddhist texts to be translated and shared. And between 655 and 660, this was pretty much Zhao's life, all of this kind of political stuff and driving culture forward. But in 660, something else happened that would shift the course of Zhao's life moving forward. The Emperor Cao Zong would suffer a stroke, which left him riddled with a number of debilitating maladies. He became prone to frequent bouts of extreme nausea and crippling headaches, which often left him bedridden, Because of this, Zhao took charge of running the day-to-day governmental operations of China. Think about that.
I bet
for
she was
just a
super
second.
bummed about that. She's
But
like,
think
oh
about
no.
A low-level concubine to running China in 25 years.
Yeah, that's insane.
Unreal. And according to official records, quote, whenever the emperor attended to business, the empress hung a curtain and listened from behind it. There was no matter of government, great or small, she did not hear. The whole sovereign power of the empire passed into her hands. Life and death, reward and punishment were hers to decide. The Son of Heaven sat on the throne and folded his hands. That is all. In court and in the country, they were called the two sages.
Wow.
So she was even being seen now as like, people kind of knew. They were like, it's both of them. Which, to my knowledge previously, this has just never been a thing where a woman, especially an empress, had this much, not just, I'm sure there are plenty of other instances where like an empress definitely affected decisions from Chinese emperors, but I don't think any to this degree that were like, you're both running the country and people knew it.
She is
and
the man
respected
behind
it.
the curtain.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Now, by all accounts, she was a natural politician who possessed a rare and keen sense for running a government. But according to Confucianism, a woman was not only unfit to govern, but inherently had no ability to do it. So everyone around Zhao chalked up her brilliance in government to nothing more than blind luck mixed with a devious personal motivation to overthrow the emperor and seize power. Despite all these good things she was doing. But surprising as it might seem, Zhao really did seem to love her husband, the Emperor Kaozong. He was now frail, living in near constant pain, and unable to perform all of his daily tasks as emperor. If Zhao was desperate to overthrow him, she probably could have found a way to have him killed, but she didn't. There's even one story where the royal doctors suggested drawing blood directly from the emperor's head in an attempt to alleviate his headaches. But right? But Zhao responded sharply, saying, quote, "How dare you propose letting blood from the head of the emperor? Such talk deserves death." So she was like genuinely concerned about him being affected by this.
Yeah.
Now to that, the emperor basically said, dude, chill. These are doctors. What do you know about medicine? And told the doctors to go ahead with the procedure. Amazingly, the treatment worked like gangbusters. He just felt better immediately, basically. And after Zhao saw the effects, she bowed to the physicians deeply and said, quote, "Heaven has sent these doctors." Then awarded them with huge lengths of silk and a handful of jewels. So like genuine gratitude here. So again,
interesting.
Yeah, this is one of those funny situations where it's like she may have been wearing the pants, but she did really seem to love the emperor. So kind of nice, you know?
Yeah. I wasn't expecting that.
I know, I really wasn't either. Now, a few years before his stroke, the emperor, influenced heavily by Zhao, decided once again to invade Korea. Chinese cannot let this alone.
That's like England with France, you know, where they're just like, we got to do it.
Yep. See, some 800 years prior, Korea had been under Chinese rule, and the Chinese had always wanted them back. Previous regimes had tried and failed to take Korea back many times in the past. But Zhao had devised a new strategy for the invasion and thought she could get the job done. In all past instances, China invaded Korea by land. But Zhao figured that if she sent 100,000 troops to invade by sea, the Koreans would never see it coming. So over the next few years, war raged on between China and Korea, and Zhao would give the emperor 2 more children, a boy named Li Tan and a daughter named Li Taiping. The emperor's health did begin to improve, but he never quite regained the strength to resume his political duties. He was, for all intents and purposes, emperor only in name. Despite Zhao's obvious success as de facto emperor, people still tried to bring her down. At one point, the emperor even sided with a push to depose her. But when Zhao confronted him about it, royal records would record the interaction, saying, quote, The emperor repented and, fearing her anger, told her that it had been done on the advice of the emperor's vice president of secretariat. In other words, even the emperor was afraid of Zhao's wrath.
Wow.
And as for that vice president of secretariat, he was sent to prison and his entire family was stripped of all their possessions and enslaved within the palace. She's not fucking
Classic.
around. And as for the war with Korea, by this point, 8 long years had passed. Incredibly, China was successful in its conquest. Korea was now under the control of Wu Zhao's government, and along the way, the Chinese armies had decimated a Japanese armada of 400 ships, which had come to aid Korea. Official Chinese records would say of this whole event, quote, "The heavens are black with smoke and the sea red with blood." Whew. Wicked cool.
Man.
Terrible loss of life. Sweet thing to write down.
Yeah. That's super metal. That's super metal.
Super cool. So now 4 million Koreans were under the control of China, and 200,000 of them were shipped back to China as slaves. Apart from the tragedies of death and obviously enslavement, most devastating to the Korean culture, the Chinese armies had set fire to the Korean capital of Pyongyang, which resulted in the loss, this hurts me, of more than 700 years of historical records detailing the Korean kingdom's legacy.
Wow.
It's like
That's
burning,
like the Library of Alexandria.
I was just about to say the Library of Alexandria, dude. So there is this massive chunk of Korean history that was just lost because the Chinese
so brutal.
burned it down, dude. Brutal. And as a history nerd, it hurts my heart to hear that, man. But this was all seen, at least by the Chinese, as a massive success. And in general, things were going really well for the nation, pretty much all thanks to Wu Zhao. As a result, Zhao decided it was high time for the Feng Shan sacrifices. And don't worry, I'm going to tell you all about it. That's not the cliffhanger for the episode. So a little bit of background regarding the Feng Shan sacrifices. According to legend, there was an ancient emperor known as the Yellow Emperor who reigned somewhere around 2700 BCE and is credited as the inventor of Chinese culture, or at least the initiator. At the very end of his reign, the Yellow Emperor performed a ceremony at Mount Tai in Western China to meditate on the relationship between heaven and earth, and in doing so, the Yellow Emperor ascended into heaven and became an immortal. Okay. Now, this became known as the Feng Shan sacrifices, and from that point on, the tradition was established, and in times of great prosperity or triumph, Chinese emperors would conduct the ceremony starting at the bottom of Mount Tai and ending at the summit. Roughly translated, Feng means to seal, and Shan means to clear away. So to both seal and clear away. Again, it's in these times where the emperor is going, I am killing it. So it's to seal the legacy and then pave the way for the future, essentially.
I see.
Okay. Now, there were many emperors throughout China's history that never once performed the ceremony. But by the end of Kaozong's reign, and therefore Zhao's reign, the ceremony would be attempted more times than any other emperor in Chinese history. But for one reason or another, they almost always had to be canceled. So it only would happen like once or twice kind of a thing.
Huh.
Now, incredibly, despite no woman having ever participated in the ceremony previously, Zhao had done her homework and made a case that there was no reason she should not be allowed to attend or be a part of it. She would write, quote, "According to the doctrines laid out in traditional books, the male and female ceremonies are distinct. There is a female altar because that is the sex of the earth goddess, the divinity sex of the earth. Besides, one invites the spirits of late empresses to take part in this important festival. So why are only senior male officials allowed to be involved with these sacrifices to a woman? This defies logic and creates disharmony where there should be order." rad, dude. Like, again,
Yeah.
she's fucking smart and
Yeah.
was educated in every possible way she could. So she understood, almost like a lawyer, like how
The legalese of that's super smart.
like, right, how to form the argument to be like, this is what I want, and it's not just what I want. Let me prove it to you with the very texts that you guys are all saying is why I can't do it. You know?
Yeah.
Super cool. So the journey from Luoyang to Mount Tai took 40 days, and the royal convoy stretched an eye-watering 60 miles.
What?
Imagine a 60-mile long procession of
That
human
doesn't
beings
even make any sense.
going from the capital to Mount Tai.
I mean, I believe it because it's Chinese history and that's the numbers that they're always working with, but like I can't comprehend it.
I know. It really is beyond belief. It's just like, what? How do you have a line of human beings? And it wouldn't have been single file either, by the way. It would have been like battalions of troops and then peasants that also had a couple of oxen they were trying to herd each personally, kind of a thing. It went on and on and on and on and on. I mean, unbelievable. But when they arrived, Zhao did indeed participate in the Fengshan ceremony, which was held on February 10th, 666 CE. Normally, the emperor would begin the ceremony at the base of the mountain, then hike to the summit where the ceremony was finished. But given the emperor's weakened state, it was Zhao who led the procession up the mountain, the first and only woman ever to do so.
Wow.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
For all of her flaws, pretty
It had to have been
incredible.
like one of her biggest successes as well, to be seen as sort of a spiritual leader as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because without that key factor, like we've been talking about, her rule would be incongruent with Chinese society as a whole.
100%. And we'll see as we move forward in the next episode too. She was very aware of what aspects of Chinese culture and society she needed to affect to be seen the way she wanted to be seen. So you're completely right. Everybody seeing her as a spiritual leader, not just like a governmental leader, was huge in her progress as it came to her pursuit of power, let's say.
Totally.
But once back at the palace, once this whole thing was over, a new threat emerged for Zhao. So again, we're now in 666 CE, which makes Zhao just over 40 years old. And there was simply no amount of butt sex that could keep the emperor's eye squarely fixed on Zhao. I'm sorry, I had to. Soon, Zhao's own niece, named Holan Kuo-chu, which if you remember, Zhao brought in her sister to become a concubine. So it's that sister's daughter. So
Dude,
her name,
so you're gonna hang on. So you're gonna screw your dad's concubine, and then you're gonna screw your dad's sister's daughter.
No, your dad's concubine's sister's daughter. Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this niece, Holan Kuo-chu, started paying regular visits to the palace under the guise of visiting her beloved aunt, the Empress Wu Zhao. Secretly, however, Holan Kuo-chu began having an affair with the emperor, who was technically her uncle. Yeah, Game of Thrones.
Ugh.
Now, Kuo-chu thought she was being sneaky, but she was young and naive and simply had no clue just how expansive Zhao's network of spies was. It didn't take long. Zhao discovered that her niece was sleeping with her husband and took it as a threat. Zhao knew all too well that the emperor was well within his rights to ditch Zhao, send her off to a monastery, and marry the younger, more beautiful Kuo-chu. Something had to be done. So a few months later, Zhao's mother decided to throw a big party to honor the emperor and empress, where everyone could come together and feast. The party, by all accounts, was a banger. Everyone was chilling, laughing, drinking wine, and enjoying the various entertainers that performed. Think like King Joffrey's wedding day in Game of Thrones.
I'm imagining it.
So everyone's laughing, having a good time when All of a sudden, Holan Kuo-chu starts to cough. The cough grows louder, followed up by gasps. Several partygoers rush over to see what's going on and offer help, but moments later, Kuo-chu fell to the floor and began to convulse. A few minutes pass before her convulsions stop, along with her breathing. She was dead. Poison. Yeah. Now, somewhere in the aftermath of the entire ordeal, Zhao's nephews were blamed for the poisoning, subsequently executed, and the rest of their family was exiled. Now, the official record would later plainly state that Zhao was solely responsible for the poisoning. I personally think Zhao was actually conspiring with her own mother, because in carrying out the assassination and blaming the nephews, all of that extended family that they hated were now gone.
Oh, true. Yeah.
So it wasn't just Zhao being like, I think this is a good move for me. I think she went to her mom because they were exceptionally close. It was like, Mom, my niece is fucking my husband. We got to do something. Her mom was like, leave it to me. I'm going to throw a feast.
Yeah, man.
That's what I think happened, personally.
Another Game of Thrones reference with, what's her name from the elderly one who ended up being the one who poisoned Joffrey.
Gosh, what is her name?
Leave it in the comments, folks. You know who we're talking about.
Yes. Tyrell, House Tyrell, right?
Yes.
No, Marjorie was the daughter or the granddaughter who was super hot. I can't remember. But she was a badass. That woman.
Yes.
So as a result of all of this, Zhao's position as Empress was secure. Pretty intense though, right? And we said it on the last episode of like, George R. R. Martin is a good writer and everything, but I think more than anything, he's an astute
history lover.
History buff, right? Where like this exact story is like, dude, that's King Joffrey's wedding. Like, that's exactly what happened. Like, it's just wild to me. So anyhow, for the next few years, Zhao would go on a bit of a cultural tear. She brought back forgotten customs like the building of halls of illumination, which were meant to honor the supreme deity Shangti, China's oldest god. Next up was winning the hearts and minds of the people through education. So Zhao summoned a group of scholars from the state university and commissioned biographies of famous Chinese women. And yes, China did have universities, with the first being established as early as 124 BC.
Bro, what are they learning at 124 BC?
Well, so
what is just wheel school?
No, man. Think about all of the Chinese inventions that were there. Not only were they inventing society and city planning and architecture and mathematics, gunpowder, all this stuff. I mean, they were
That's true. They were so
tons
far
of
ahead.
stuff. They were so far ahead, man. So like at these universities, they were not only writing new texts about philosophies, they were studying old ones. They were trying to pursue new scientific and mathematical things. I mean, don't get it confused. There were many stupid things about medieval people in general, dumb beliefs, things that were not true, but that did not mean they were not smart people. They were intensely smart people and hungry for knowledge. So they were getting shit done, man. They were reading up, you know?
Yeah.
So again, the earliest university that we know in China started in 124, but obviously these would have looked very different from modern universities. It wasn't like we're accepting pupils. It was like, I am a scholar, so I'm going to go to the university and be scholarly. So kind of different. Yeah. But additionally, Zhao worked alongside the university's scholars to write and develop 2 different books of her own. One on her political philosophy, which later became required reading for Chinese government officials, and a second called New Admonitions for the 100 Officials, which was all about music and Chinese rituals. Though she would not be personally involved, she commissioned an additional 1,000 books to be written on various subjects of her choosing, stuff that she just found personally interesting. And though all of these things did have an overarching element of virtue, under the surface of it all, Zhao had something slightly more devious in mind. In gathering this large group of scholars, she assigned them all to be her own personal governmental department. And why is that a big deal? Well, traditionally speaking in China, anyone who had extreme political ambition, specifically in gaining power, did exactly this. So not only did Zhao have a brain trust of advisors to learn from, she also had a group of people through whom she could filter all of her political action. If anything was headed towards the emperor that could in any way threaten Zhao's grip on political power, her little gaggle of university scholars would catch it and nip it in the bud. As we were starting to see, Zhao was willing to do anything, both personally and politically, to maintain her grasp on the throne. Now, 4 years would pass after the assassination of her niece, and Zhao continued to plan for her future. But then, in 670, Zhao's mother, Lady Yang, the Lady of Zhong, would pass away. Obviously, Zhao was devastated. Since she was a child, her mother had always been her biggest advocate and most trusted confidant, but now she was gone. Zhao and the emperor went to pay their respects, and Zhao would write, quote, "On seeing the place my dead mother once patronized, the loneliness deepens in my heart, and I feel sad recalling my longing for her. So I composed this poem to express my sorrow. Accompany my emperor, I tour the restricted gardens, granted this favor to leave the fragrant chambers. Clouds lay shrouding the mountain peaks. A rosy mist descends, pierced by waving banners. The Sun Palace leads to a scene of riverside homes. The Moon Hall opens out to a view of houses perched on cliffs. Golden wheels spin over the golden land. In chambers of incense, long, fragrant robes move. Bells sound. The hum of Buddhist chants rises lightly. Banners flap. The mists gradually disperse. Once I met with the disaster of fire. A mountain of fire engulfed the crowded fields. There is no trace left of the flower terrace, but the lotus tower remains in all its glory. Truly, it depends on those with benevolent means to aid the Almighty to perfect the world. Compassion gives rise to good fortune. At this place I linger with dutiful thoughts, but a branch in the wind cannot find peace. Even tears of blood will not bring her back." Pretty beautiful, wow. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's something about this medieval Chinese specifically way of writing that is, I don't know.
Dreamlike.
Yeah. Very, that's the best way to say it. Dreamlike. Now, with her mother gone, Zhao's ambition only intensified. It was almost like in death, Zhao was more determined than ever to make her mother proud. The thought had probably been creeping in her mind for years, but after her mother passed, the thought seems to have grown stronger and stronger. Zhao started to think, well, despite all these odds stacked against me, I have somehow managed to climb from concubine to empress, the second most powerful person in China, maybe even the world. What if, instead of empress, I became emperor? And that's where we'll pick back up for part 4 of Wu Zhao.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Wow, we've covered so much that's gone on over this last episode.
A lot of ground,
right? It seems
right?
like, I mean, first of all, let's just say she became empress, right? Which is already a feat in and of itself, considering her status and considering her familial background and considering the fact that the emperor already had an empress, right? There was so many basically lines of defense blocking her from the end zone there, but she managed to figure it out. And then the poisoning with her mother, and then her passing sort of inspiring her. This is like really gearing up to be a fantastic story. I'm very excited to see how she manages to make her, because, you know, the distance from the bottom to the second, position is a very long distance, but I feel like it is an equally long distance to be a female empress and then try to impose yourself as an emperor, right?
Absolutely. And then you also have to think about, and we'll talk all about it in the next episode, but you also have to think about the fact that even if the emperor dies, it's not like she's in line to take over. Her son's in line to take over. So what is it going to take? What does she actually have to do in order to make all of this happen the way that she wants to?
Yeah.
It's pretty wild stuff, dude. the next episode, I will say, is going to be a little bit more. There's still going to be some like gasp moments, but it's going to be a lot more of like, here was the political maneuvering that it took. Here are the laws that she put into place. Here's, certain things that she ordered to happen to give everything this cool air of legitimacy to her plans and everything. But it's, again, by no means is it unexciting. It's still very, very cool. I'm really excited to share it with all y'all. It's a good one.
Yeah, man. This has been a fantastic series. I'm really excited for the next episode, dude. It's
been fun, right? To me, this feels strange to say. It almost feels like a little bit of a palate cleanser. When we're getting into something really heady, like, when we're going through Tesla or Mark Twain or something, there's so much nuance and detail, and we're talking about science
feels a
and
little
technology.
Stuffy in comparison, yeah.
Right. This is this sort of like, I hate to say swashbuckling because it's not, but you know what I mean. It's more of like this this crazy,
it's more like fantasy story.
Exactly. Except it's not fantasy, it's real. And that's the stuff, by the way, everybody. Keith, I know you feel the same way, but this is one of the reasons I love doing this show, is that like history is only boring if you look at it through all of the lenses that most of your life people have told you to look at history through.
Yeah. Because history is everything. History is all things that people have done.
And it's funny.
And how could that be boring?
People have even said to me recently, like, we'll talk about books. Like, well, what books are you reading? Did you read this new... I know you've told me like Brandon Sanderson in the past. Like, you should read more Brandon Sanderson. And I'm not opposed. But it's just one of those that like, when I get into this kind of stuff, I'm like, who needs fiction when you got this?
Yeah.
Like, it's to me, it's just as amazing, if not more so, because it's not just a cool and interesting story and like twists and turns and gasps and wild stuff. It's also true, which to me makes it even cooler and more fun to get into. So
man,
this has been a fun one. And especially like we've talked about before, I know, and I still know very little, to be honest with you, about actual Chinese history. I got this little pocket that I'm looking at right now.
Yes.
And I'm trying my best to learn as much as I can, but man, there is so much more there and so many more people to look at. And I don't know, it's just been a very cool corner of the earth and corner of history to examine and see the full tale and everything. It's been fun.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's incredibly fascinating. We've already talked about that before, about how Chinese history just seems so different than all of the other branches of history that we've discussed so far. So I'm really excited that you're exploring it, man.
Yeah, me too. Well, we'll wrap it up here, everybody. But again, like always, if you are enjoying the show and you want to give us some support, you can do so by going to our Patreon page, patreon.com/thebiographers. If you feel like giving us a nice kind review somewhere, we'd appreciate that as well. Places like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, obviously. Any questions, comments, corrections, all that good stuff, you can send us a quick email over at thebiographerspodcast@gmail.com. And like always, Akiva, what do you got for us in the world of metalworking?
Well, if you are interested in making one of your own knives, you've already heard me talk about some of mine. If you want to make one of your own, check out Hardy & Fuller here in Denver. I am teaching more and more and more, and we have all sorts of different classes available to you. So if you're a total beginner, if you've never swung a hammer before in your life, that's totally fine. Come on in, check it out. And if you want to buy one of mine, I have a couple on the website. If you go to metalworkbymiola.com and use the code biographers at checkout, you're going to get 10% off your order.
Beautiful. And I have been, if you haven't seen, I've been putting the URL text for Hardy & Fuller and your website on the actual YouTube videos.
Yes. Thank you so much, dude.
Yeah, man, for sure. But everybody, seriously, go check it out. We said this on the last episode too. If you've ever watched any of Max Miller from Tasting History's videos, you almost definitely have seen some of Akiva's work in the world of making knives. They're gorgeous. Go check out Metalwork by Miola. Again, you can use that code biographers at checkout to get 10% off. But again, everybody, we'll let you go. Hope you're enjoying the series so far. We'll be back in 2 weeks with part 4 of Wu Zhao. We're going to part 5 in this series, so nice and tight, nice and clean.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see you in 2 weeks, everybody. And do remember, like always, ignorance is not stupidity. It is the absence of knowledge. And I do hope you all learned something today.
See ya.
You've been listening to The Biographers. For more information, please visit thebiographerspodcast.com.